Howdy, I'm Tony Nestor. Thanks for watching this show. I'm down here in Costa Rica this week doing a kind of joint teaching a course with friend Tom Sodas. Tom's teaching a couple of days of machete fighting and knife work. Tom's one of the renowned, if not the most renowned, knife fighting expert in the world. I'm privileged to say that I'm friends with him and been able to take his classes, and he is the man if you want to learn combatives and knife work. But he's down here teaching machete work and machete fighting, and I'm teaching 2 days of primitive skills and food procurement and basic survival skills. So we're kind of north of the Osa Peninsula here, and it is hot. I'm burning off as much water here as I burn off in the desert, and you know, here it doesn't get evaporated, so it stays on the skin. Physiologists and wilderness medicine instructors say more people get cases of heat exhaustion in the southeastern U.S. and in the tropical regions than they do in the desert, because it doesn't evaporate off your body and it can't do the cooling for you. So it's a furnace down here, but it's a tropical furnace. 80% humidity. It's only about 79, 80 degrees, but we're burning through a lot of water with the work we're doing. I wanted to just go over some basic information and some gear, specialized gear related to the tropical regions. Whether you go to the American tropics of the Everglades or southern Texas down by Brownsville and Harlingen, there's tropics down there and alligators and that kind of thing. Whether you're in Borneo or northern Australia has tropics. Or whether you're down in Latin America or the Amazon, there's some things you're going to need to do before you leave for your trip, and some things you have to take with you that you may not need back in lower 48 states or the U.S. So first and foremost, before you head out on your trip, look up the CDC, Center for Disease Control's website, and go to that country that you're going to and see what the shots are. You're going to need to get some immunizations if you're going to tropical regions. You're not going to need in the U.S. So you might need things like, well, obviously hepatitis and those kinds of things. Get shots for those. Get your tetanus updated, your boosters and that kind of thing. Make sure you get the shots and immunizations related to that area, and find out what other things are going on there. If you're going to Panama, maybe there's dengue fever. You know, if you're going to Australia, there might be outbreaks there you got to be aware of. Find out what the situation is with malaria. Malaria is found in most tropical regions. Some areas are better than others, but find out first what it's like before you're going down there, so you know what gear to bring, how much to bring with you, what shots to get, and that kind of thing. And then go to your doctor and get some Cipro in case you have a bout of the runs like you wouldn't believe, where you drank some foul water, you drank some bad food at the or had some bad water or food at the airport or the restaurant when you get into the country, and you've got the runs. You don't want to have that dehydrating you and getting you so sick your whole trip is blown to the tropics, literally. So get some Cipro. Also get some Imodium or Pepto-Bismol in your first aid kit. Take that with you, and all the usual meds. Ibuprofen for sprains and injuries and that kind of thing. And I like having, of course, the children's fast melt Benadryl for any allergic reactions to plants, to bee stings, spider bites, that kind of thing. So those are the things I take with me. And down here, you know, this area, I kind of knew ahead of time that mosquitoes weren't an issue where we're going to be going. They're out. I brought insect repellent. I've got my head net and that kind of thing. I got my clothing sprayed. But I don't like the malaria pills. Some people take those. They tend to make my eyes run, and I just don't feel good on that stuff. If I'm going to a heavily infested area and malaria is an issue, mosquitoes are out, it's July, raining, mosquitoes, clouds of them, that's another story. But this time of year, it's January, we're in Costa Rica, beautiful time to be here. It's the dry season. And I talked to some of the folks down here ahead of time, and they're like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just bring your repellent and head net, you'll be fine. So those are the things to do before your trip. And then when you get in, or you get your gear rather, before you get in country, take into account some of these things here. One is you're going to need a good head net. And I like the kind that has the rings on it. I got this at REI for like $8. This is a OR, Outdoor Products, Outdoor Research, whatever it is. And this one you saw was in that little pouch there. This one goes into this little head net, and it's got the rings on it, which keeps it off my face. So if by chance I do have to sleep out, or the bugs are bad, I'm trying to eat my chow, you know, this is going to keep this off my face. It also has really, really fine mesh netting. And by the way, if you want to read a great book on somebody or on the jungle by somebody who researched this and spent his entire life in the tropics, it's called Jungle Snafus by Preston Kearney from western Colorado, just died a few years ago. And what a guy, man. He traveled the world, living in the tropics in World War II, was down in Venezuela exploring the oil fields in the 30s and 40s. This guy he spent his entire life researching what works and what doesn't. I highly recommend that book. And that being said, you know, if you want to take an in-depth jungle skills course, you're going to be going to the tropics and you want to learn the survival skills, you want to go on a week or two long trip, I'd look up guys like Jeff Randall, runs trips in Peru. I think his company is jungletraining.com. A friend of mine, Madison Parker, former Navy SEAL, did a lot of work down in Latin America. He runs a school in northern Florida, and his school rivals the field school he has there. The resources they have rivals what you'll find in a lot of Latin American countries in terms of the skills he can get into with you if you want to stay within the States. His school is, let's see, his website's primitivesupply.com, and he makes these super high-powered slingshots. He's an ace with those things. So Madison Parker, Jeff Randall, and then there's an outfit in run by an ex-SAS guy, survival instructor in Uruguay. And it's Bushmasters. It's a British-based site, UK-based site, but he's down there for most of the year. I've had several of my friends who've gone through his school and really like it. 1 to 2 week training courses where you live with the Waorani Indians. And I think it's bushmaster.co.uk, or look up Bushmaster, you'll find it. Those are the 3 schools I'm familiar with, and I recommend to students if you want to get in-depth with jungle training. Not my area of expertise. I'm comfortable in the tropics. I like coming down here and spending time and trekking around. Know how to take care of myself here, but if you want to learn the ins and outs, go with one of those 3 guys, and they can give you an in-depth course and experience. Regarding some of the gear, though, I want to mention a few things. I got my first aid kit, mentioned some of the things related to that. But in addition to that, I've also got 2 important items. I've got some antifungal material. This is just some tea tree oil mixed with calendula and comfrey that a buddy of mine made up. Mike Masick, who's one of my instructors. He's an herbalist, made this up for me. Mike lived in the tropics for years, knows what works and what doesn't, and made up this lotion, this salve, if you will, that can be put on any cuts and scrapes. So this is what I carry with me, because here in the tropics, where it's so humid, if you get a cut, it can go septic pretty fast. It's going to go septic fast if you don't take care of it, wash it out, clean it up, and take care of it until it closes up. So I've got this in the meantime. I just got a scrape on my foot the other night from a sandal when I was working around camp, and you know, I've been putting that on there ever since. So carry some tea tree oil, some antiseptic, some antifungal stuff. That's the nice thing about this mixture. The tea tree, the calendula, and comfrey, it acts as antiseptic and antifungal. You don't want little critters growing out of your skin after a few days, which you'll find here in the tropics. I've also got some Gold Bond. This is body powder. This is to dry out those areas, those folds. You're going to have tissue breakdown, skin breakdown, which is bad news in areas that aren't getting sunlight and drying out and aren't getting dried out from, you know, your towel or from the air and that kind of thing. So by the folds, I'm talking about groin areas, toes, armpits. Maybe you got a few other folds. You know, if you're heavier, you might have some areas you gotta take care of. So put the Gold Bond on. At the end of the day, dry yourself out. When you're climbing into your hammock or your tent, or maybe you're back at your bungalow, whatever, you dry yourself out with that, so that during the night your skin can recover. So you're not going to have the tissue breakdown occurring from being wet and humid all the time. Now I got this in this container here because we're in a base camp situation. If I'm trekking, I'll just carry a little bit of this in a Ziploc or something like that. But you've got to have antifungal, and you've got to have some Gold Bond material. Let me pause this. I want to show you a little bit of the canopy out back here, and I think it's going to be time to do part 2 here because I'm running out of time.